then you have DO. Doctor of Osteopathy.
Doctor of Osteopathy. Nice. Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Building a Better Bowler podcast. They're flying away. Joined again by my movement specialist mate, Craig Oswald, BOST. And myself, Simon Bowler, TWAT. That's a technical, clinical twatishiner. Something like that. Anyway, there we go. So today we were going to talk about the minimum amount of movement required, but also I'd ask Craig, could he suggest one specific stretch or movement we could do simply that would improve, I suppose, life in general for people? You know, is it the world's greatest stretch every morning? Is it just touching your toes? I thought, personally, just sitting in a squat is a great thing. If you got people to sit in a squat every day for 10 to 20 seconds, it might not improve a lot of people because they're already able, capable, and at the right level. But for a lot of people, the progression to even get there and then maintaining it would be fantastic. But I think there's probably better. There's probably more. So here we go, Craig. There we go.
So, you want my honest answer?
Yes, mate. Yeah.
It depends. Is the honest answer.
Fucking brilliant.
But it does.
Yeah, of course. It's too specific to say one, isn't it, I suppose?
The problem is now is that if you go onto Instagram, you go onto Facebook, there are plenty of videos that say the 5 best exercises you're probably not doing. The 5 best stretches you're probably not doing. And don't be wrong. Do people stretch enough? Probably not. But also, do people really need to stretch? So this is the difficulty now, is that
stretch or mobilise, I suppose you would differ the two, wouldn't you?
Stretch, mobilise may be the same, but so my learning of movement has often kind of come full circle, and with those things, it becomes this aspect of if you have some people have great mobility. But the problem is they have...
Thank you.
The problem is that they have such good mobility, they actually don't have... But the problem is they have a lot of instability, or they don't have stability.
Yeah.
So their mobility, I might be able to lay a patient on a bench, and they can do a straight leg raise, and they may well be able to get their leg way up to 90 degrees, if maybe not beyond 90 degrees, so the leg is straight up pointing in the air. But then when you ask them to do a squat, it looks ugly as sin. And the reason being is because of instability as opposed to mobility. This is why putting a footballer on a bench and saying, oh, you've got tight hamstrings. Yep. But guess what? They need tight hamstrings because they need to turn on a knife edge in order to be able to get around a player or pick up a ball or cross the ball or whatever it might be. So it truly does depend. It really does. To be fair, though, actually, the moment you said one specific thing, I was like, oh, do you know what? That probably is, which is holding a squat.
Yeah. My thoughts behind that was what implementation for people when it gets complicated is harder, varied. If there was one thing that you could do really easy, just sit in a squat every day. It takes no time. You can do it. I can remember when I first started and you were saying about brushing your teeth in a squat.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you don't need to do that. Like, rip the door off a car. Do you remember that speech?
The speech we used to give was that basically, kind of the Western world, we have created these, wonderful chairs. And the daft thing is that we have to now make chairs ergonomic because to support your back appropriately. Yeah, but we weren't designed to sit for the longer periods of time that we do. So it's just like a backwards way of doing things. But we used to say to people, those nations or those populations or those tribes or whatever it may well be that sit, eat, defecate, converse in a squat position, I bet you there's a lot less knee issues. I bet you there's a lot less lower back issues. It's a big factor in people's overall health. Like the moment you start restricting, movement and function, things start to get creaky and cranky, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I've just gone on a massive mental tangent.
I
from
saw
that.
your eyes just drift off then.
But what I was thinking,
You glazed over
brilliant.
massively.
No, I was thinking about it, but like this, so it's all about movement, but it's a funny way of getting there. Like obviously, the Japanese are very good at doing things really precisely and correctly, and they have good movement patterns. And if you look at the Japanese culture in lots of ways, I'll probably get overruled on this at some point, but you know, they tend to live longer, move well. There's a lot of things, apart from eating well meat, that they do really good. When it comes to car manufacture, the Japanese couldn't believe they came to some of the American factories, and there was a production line, and the guy at the end of the production line had a mallet, and it was his job to tap the door in certain places to make sure it fit properly. So he'd hit it like where it was slightly out, or where it wasn't quite closing properly, so that then it would fit. So it was slightly metal, it's slightly malleable, and it would fit then after he'd smacked it. So he was the corrector, if you like. The Japanese could not believe that they'd got a guy at the end of the thing smacking it with a hammer to make it fit. They're like, well, what would you do? They said, we'd make it fit right the first time.
Yeah.
And when you're going through that, I'm thinking, what we do is instead of making everything correct at the start, we put a sticking plaster. We find a solution for the fact you've got a bad back instead of stopping the bad back in the flipping first place.
Yeah.
And that's why my eyes glazed over. I went in another world. So sorry about that.
It's that prevention better than cure.
Yeah, absolutely. Do it right. Don't create a problem, then put a plaster over the problem. We fucking do that with everything.
Well, not just
pills, prescribe pills. I mean, that's
I was going to say that's it. The thing is we have a wonderful NHS system that is just completely overwhelmed. And if you've got something sticking out of you, if you've got something sticking in you, if you've got something red squirting out of you, like they're really, really...
You've got something sticking out of you or in you, and you don't want to be known by you. That's another thing. Isn't
That's another thing. Don't go there. So, if you put something in you, they're really...
I watched a TikTok video. This one, someone had gone, "Do you believe him?" And it was like, "Yeah." So, how did you come across your accident? I slipped off the side of the toilet and landed on it. Like, fuck off.
Do you know what? I'm forever slipping off the side of the toilet. It's a really unstable surface.
Straight on top of a toilet brush. That's what had happened to this bloke.
Oh my God.
It was really serious as well. I was like, poor nurse.
So anyway, trying to drive
you did say about me.
Some narrative. Trying to drive some narrative into this. So we have an overwhelmed NHS system, and unfortunately, when you have intermittent back pain, shoulder pain, hip pain, knee pain, niggles like that, I don't think it's often well dealt with.
Yeah,
physiotherapists don't have a huge amount of time with each patient, and being able to actually assess it appropriately might take a lot longer than what people, are expecting. And then you kind of get slid over a sheet of exercises, and it just becomes a difficult process. And so then it makes the whole thing seem even more overwhelming to an individual who perhaps wants to go and seek treatment. You're left in a position where you've not really kind of got an avenue to pursue unless you go privately. And then, even then, it isn't straightforward. You can get bounced from practitioner to practitioner. It is very, very difficult. But some movement is going to be better than no movement. But yeah,
I suppose as well, they come in, they present a problem, and they've got a set script of what movement should be done for that person, for that knee. But then within that is a menagerie of different things, like this person actually has a bad knee, but they don't move. They're underweight, or they're overweight, or they've actually got a bad ankle, which is probably leading to the bad knee, but they're here to get range of movement back in the knee. That's not a 10-minute fix, is it? That's not, all of a sudden, you've hurt your knee and your knee's a problem, but it's not the knee. That's a symptom of something else. But they haven't got time to go back through all that. I mean, that's one thing you do, isn't it?
Yeah,
but, as a physiotherapist in the NHS, don't get time with any patient enough, never mind one that's presenting multiple issues leading to whatever the actual displayed symptom is.
Yeah, it's not an easy path to navigate. And it is challenging, like I say, then sort of then turning around to somebody, whether it's a PT, whether it's a physio, whether it's an osteo, a chiro, whatever practitioner it may well be, and saying, what's the best thing for me? Because each person is going to have their own opinion, and then again, it just leads you to a little bit more confusion.
Do you think, so I suppose I said, what is one stretch? And not everybody should stretch, or
well, no, it depends.
Yeah,
yeah. But as honestly, any good practitioner, when you ask a straight question like that, their answer should be it depends, because there are so many factors. I do love the squat one though. I first saw Kelly Starrett, becoming a supple leopard. I first saw him performing the 10-minute squat test. 10 minutes
in a squat.
It's horrendous.
Is that at the bottom out of a squat?
Yeah. They were just no.
Because there's a big difference. I can sit in the bottom of a squat for ages, but if you ask me to engage slightly, so I'm holding it, it's another world of pain. I suppose after a few minutes, it's like
there's no way on earth that I would be able to hold an active 2-minute squat, let alone an active 10-minute squat. But I think that's a big one for a lot of people. Taking hips, knees, pelvis into quite a deep range of movement. I think it's a great one, and I like it because technically it's not a stretch.
No, but what I thought about because I'd give it a bit of thought.
Yeah.
I am fortunate that I'm quite flexible.
Yeah.
It's not in my genes, as people would say, because no one else in my family is. But,
really?
Yeah. So my brother's not super flexible, although he'll argue with that. But then you ask him to do something. But I did some form of martial arts throughout my teenage years, and I wanted to be able to kick high, and so I could do a roundhouse when I was younger, which it would be no good in a fight, but it looked great. Yeah, I can remember roundhouse in a punch bag at the fair in Ripley. I'd not got a very hard punch, and all these lads were smacking it, and I roundhoused it. About broke my ankle. Everyone's like, "Oh man!" I was like, "Yeah," and I walked off, got in the corner, limped.
That sounds nothing like you. From what I know of you, that doesn't sound anything like you at all.
It looked brilliant, but I've been stretching, and so Danny Bradford's like, "Oh yeah, but you can stretch loads." But the reason I say it's not hereditary is I don't know any like older people in my family who are stretchy, and the kids, they really haven't got the best range of movement, considering that they're young and should be fairly flexy, really.
Some of that for me has got to be, as they're growing, I suppose it's a question, as they are growing, is it that their bones, ligaments, tendons are basically all playing catch up with one another? So one's, causing that. So I don't really kind of worry too much.
Well, they're both active, but Becca and I were both active at that age-ish. Maybe I wasn't.
Yeah, but Becca was a dancer.
Exactly. So she's flexible now, okay? I'm flexible. The kids aren't. We were flexible at their age. So the only way I can sort of add it all together is because we were doing stretches. So, and we kept that plasticity as we aged.
Your stretches were based on your sport, were based on your activities.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily, again, like, what is your flexibility for? Like, if you do CrossFit from a young age and you overhead squat, or you Olympic lift and you snatch, or if you're a gymnast from a young age, your sport is going to demand flexibility. So you will have that range that your sport demands. It's only when you take somebody who was Danny Bradford, a rugby player or a footballer.
Yeah, you should see him kick.
I like the way he just rinsed. Like, no need.
He'd love that though. He's gonna hopefully you're listening, Danny. Love you to bits, mate.
Bless him.
You couldn't kick a dwarf in the eye.
I'm not sure I should laugh at that. I don't even know. But literally, like, if you took Danny and you said, right, okay, then, like, your sport was rugby, you need to have a spine that is pretty solid, otherwise it's going to get injured. And then you go, okay, now you've stiffened your spine up for 10 or 15 years. Let's do an overhead squat. Like, your sport didn't demand it, and so it makes it a really difficult transition. Whereas somebody that was a gymnast that wants, saying that, I do know at one of the clinics that I treat at, there's a young lad, and he's actually trying to get into film as a stuntman.
Nice.
Yeah, but he plays rugby as well, and lo and behold, he's got back problems, and it isn't like the kind of the stunt work that's causing his back problems. It's rugby.
Yeah,
and it's because he's so flexible from his martial art and his gymnastic work for film that, you know, when he moves into rugby, he's not got a stiff enough spine to be able to support him.
There's a lot of compression involved
Massively.
in rugby and jolts to that. And not, in my experience, I'm sure there's a lot of clubs do, any programme of rehabilitation other than going and having 8 or 9 pints after. That's the unfortunate mentality of it, which is a great sport, love it to bits, but I do, as I get a bit older, see that, you know, maybe there could be some more longevity in players.
Do you still see that now, though, even though that is a generational thing for you? Because obviously, I know
I think
maybe 8 or 9 pints for the kids that you're coaching probably isn't what is recommended.
Yeah, five max.
But it is one of those things where I know, obviously, you know, we have more understanding now. Gone are those days, you know, when it used to be that you'd wake up after with a hangover, have a cooked fried breakfast, and then, you know, try not to have a coronary at 40 minutes. You know what I mean?
There's still a big drinking culture, but
Yeah.
as the lads get younger, I mean, there's a few young lads, they go out, they drink, and probably do other things as well. I think there's a complete change in recreation, but they still have the drinkers and the not so drinkers. One thing I saw recently was in a sales team in my industry, 3 young lads, and I was talking to the older guy, and I was saying, God, yeah, they all went to the gym and then went to bed early last night, and then went to the gym this morning. Can you believe it? We'd have been wasted, wouldn't we? And I thought, yeah, we would. Isn't that brilliant? That they look great.
They're not just, you know, sheep blindly following.
And that's what, you know, the culture within sales industry and that is a little bit like that.
But,
You know, drinking and partying, and these guys were obviously doing very well, but it was all 3 of them. They were from different areas, so they've all got the fitness bug or mentality or health mentality independently of each other, come together, and I just thought, fucking hell, I'm glad that's a change.
But we spoke about this last time, didn't we? About the kind of bubble. Like it's hard because in a couple of my other clinics, I treat a lot of older patients, and so I don't expect movement to even, you know, they're just trying to survive life pain free. They're not considering their fitness as part of, because fitness and health seem to be 2 separate words.
Yeah,
they're not.
You can be fit but with lots of underlying problems, can't you? I suppose. And
yeah.
So that wouldn't necessarily mean you were healthy.
So okay, the other way to look at it is not having any health markers of concern. Does that mean you're healthy? No. You know what I mean?
Like, just because you're not either, does it?
No, just because you've not got disease doesn't mean you're healthy. It just means that you've not got currently disease, but obviously it doesn't necessarily mean you're fit either. So,
or not displaying any signs of disease. I suppose that's the.
I constantly I think there's a bigger divide now than there has ever been in terms of those that do exercise and those that don't exercise.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a better shift in culture towards those exercising. You know, obviously my eldest boy is exercising and trying to, you know, kind of build his strength and his physique, and learning about how to do that with his body, which is an amazing thing. But it's like, because there's such a divide, like, because there are more people being fitter and chasing fitness, and kind of, whether it's a sport, whether it's a, you know, just a training program, whatever it may be, bodybuilding, powerlifting, there's definitely better knowledge being pushed further forwards, and that's always a positive
TikTok,
thing.
Instagram. There's lots of, it's a double-sided coin, isn't it? But there's lots more advertisements for fitness and knowledge-based 2-minute quick looks that you can go, there's movement exercise.
I mean, that's the difficulty with, like, your James Smith highlighted it, and I'm sure there are many others who are of a similar ilk to him, but highlighting the poor quality of individuals morally that are trying to advertise what fitness looks like. You know, from a dietary perspective, from a training perspective, you know, whatever it may be. I think those people are having but the fact is that it's, I think, more, not only that, I think more people are aware of when someone's a charlatan, but like, it's quite interesting, the divide between those people that are really aware when someone's being an absolute sausage and peddling crap,
yeah,
and when somebody, you know, that there's people that just don't have a clue, and they'll buy into all sorts thinking it's going to help. And unfortunately, the answer is not an easy answer. It's exercise, and it's putting the pack of biscuits down, and it's, you know what I mean. It's
where do you stand on
salad
Liver
tastes
King then?
nice.
Because when you're saying that, I was thinking, so he obviously puts the work in, and he lives a fairly healthy life.
Yep.
But then he takes a lot of steroids.
Yep.
But then he denied all that.
Yep.
And
That's a marketing ploy. It's
so,
got
yeah,
to have been.
So it's like he is a charlatan, but he's also a genuinely healthy. You know, he eats well.
He's not
from
genuinely
doing-
healthy. I mean, nobody is that purple.
Yeah, well, that's sorry. He moves and trains. Actually, he's probably not mentally healthy or anything. The more I come and dig at it, yeah, where do you stand on Liver King?
You
Yeah,
just pull that layer back, and you're like, oh dear.
Yeah, I taught myself through it.
No, but
yeah.
I mean, you know, $10,000 a month allegedly on growth hormone. Like,
Yeah, fucking.
you know, that gentleman, he did really well at he was the brand. You know, he's done really, really well. He's
But
not just
the brand, his supplement line was massive before that, wasn't it? Like there was no
Well,
need for him.
I'm not
to
being
go and
funny,
do it, but
so, they're clearly.
massive, but it's huge now. Isn't it?
Well, surely there was clearly a need for him to have done it. That's why he did it. You know,
Ego, though, I
either
think.
ego driven,
Yeah.
but a lot, you know, my understanding is that, you know, to kind of sell a brand, it should not just be it should have a face. If you're just trying to put a logo out there, it doesn't really mean anything. So if you are your brand, which he was, then yeah, it makes sense to do that. But no, he's not a particularly healthy individual. Is he fit? Is he strong? Well, yeah, again, so fit and healthy. Is he fit? Probably. Yeah. Is he strong? Yeah, absolutely. You know, but does he have any longevity?
That remains to be seen, doesn't it? I suppose.
That does definitely remain to be seen.
But if you look, I mean, yeah, the thing with that is I looked at it, I wanted it to be true. I wanted to think, right, if I train hard and eat, you know.
Really?
Well, I wanted it to be. I knew in the back of my mind, I'd spoke this about a few people, and everyone's like, he's fucking jacked up on stuff. Gary's like, he starts breaking him down. He's a small man with Napoleon syndrome who's been picked on, and that's why he's, and this, which is all seems to be true. But I looked at it, I was like, I want it to be that he trains hard, he eats, you know, he eats a natural carnivore diet, and is, you know, slightly genetically advanced compared to other people, or lucky, and he gets all that, and it's brilliant. But in the back of my mind, I knew he's American. You know, he looks absolutely roided off his head. So I kind of knew it wasn't. But that's the thing. I think people look at stuff on any platform and go, "Wow, I want that to be true." It's like these herbal life supplements where the girls have loads of makeup on, they have a filter on, and they go, "Look, I've been on this for 12 weeks, and my skin's great, and I've lost weight, and it's all down to this bottle of thing I've been taking." But what they don't do is go,
Yak piss.
yeah, it's all down
I've
to
been putting yak piss on my face for the last 6 weeks.
and I've got a lovely healthy glow.
Smell a bit ammonia.
Yeah. Yak piss has not been investigated enough. Other pisses are available just for advertising standards.
Yeah,
it doesn't
we
have to
are.
be yak.
Milking a yak is really difficult though to get it.
Well, that's how you get the piss, though, isn't it? I suppose.
Well, it's
milk or piss, one of the
milk.
But I've lost my train of thought. But you can kind of, you know, it's false and it's not all come out of a bottle, and they've got a filter on, and they've been actually dieting for a few weeks and got on track. But lots of people buy into that. And I shouldn't just pick Herbalife. There's loads of them. They go, "Oh my god, it's a $39.99 bottle for 4 weeks." And then when you see everything else that they've actually posted, and it's like, drink this every morning, only have 4 litres of water, eat salad, blah blah blah. You're like, well, it's everything but that's made the difference.
Yeah.
But you buy into the magic pill, and
yeah,
and
but that's the thing, isn't it? Everybody wants that quick fix because, like I say, I think there's that divide where there are those people that are in the know, that seem to have kind of done a bit of research, and that maybe have a bit more of an idea of what it takes to build a fit body, or what it takes to build a strong body, or what it takes to build a healthy body. And then you've got those people that are just desperate to do the bare minimum to get the most out of their body, or to look the best. And most people are only doing it for a summer holiday.
yeah,
You know, well, you know, sun's out now, I need to go out and
or to gain a mate quite often. If you look
gain a
at
mate. What you mean? It's sexual mate, or
yeah,
like a
sexual,
be my friend.
yeah. My name's Norman. Like
nothing wrong with the name Norman.
no. Which is if you're a girl. Would you go like so? You know, if you met a girl, and she was like amazing. Can you imagine?
Here we go.
And like, so you're stunning, you're gorgeous, and so interesting and everything. What's your name? She's like Norma. That'd be it, wouldn't it? You should have to call her something else.
Norma.
Yeah, but even that. But if you think about people when they get like most people
I'm not gonna
in the youth, go on. When they're in the youth, like they get ripped and stacked, and every 20s, loads of people look great anyway, but you look your best. Then you settle down, and because you're not trying to gain a mate anymore, and you're so comfortable, people let themselves go, and then they kind of have a refurb thing. Actually, health is important.
Well,
but a lot of it is that to look good, to get a better quality of. A better standard of partner, so you're punching. I'm trying to put it into the nice.
I mean,
words,
that is absolutely true, isn't there? How many breakups have we seen where that person looks great 3 months after they've broken up, had from a serious relationship? Part of it is like some form of weird revenge. Part of it is kind of wanting to seek a new mate. Absolutely, but there's an unhealthy attachment to that.
Yeah.
Like hitting 40 next month, I have, like I mentioned about Peter Attia last time, and it's the same sort of thing. Live well till you're dead. And like we said mentioned before, all the Americans, they'll get the blood work done, they'll get all of this done a lot more. But it is that thing of, I'm very happy in my relationship, and that is that's put to bed. Like there's no issues there as such. So it's a case of, I don't need to worry. I'm not doing. I still want my wife to find me attractive, and so I will continue to exercise. And if she starts to pulling faces when I get out of the shower naked, then I know I've got to leave off the biscuits a little bit more on the crisps.
Well, I think part of your responsibility as a partner, is to try and look attractive for your partner.
Absolutely.
So I'm not saying be super vain and super thingy, but at the same time, like I want to please Rebecca.
Yeah.
So I want to look at me visually, mentally, sexually, emotionally. Like I want to, I'm a pleaser, but I do. But at the same time, it's one layer of many things. So up and down. Sometimes I look good, sometimes I look bad. I've been through phases, and she's stuck by me where I've looked, like Uncle Fester's stunt double, and then. But looking healthy and looking well and to some degree as attractive as you possibly can, I think is like you say forever. We get married forever and live together, and I want you to maintain, one partner relationships. So it's all chemicals. It's human interactions. Let's be honest about it. If you don't make an effort for your partner, and then they eventually drift off and find somebody else, whether it's an effort with just listening to them or being there or physically, it's all part of the same thing. Making an effort with your own appearance as much as with your own, mentality, your time for them. They're all little tiny bits of the building, aren't they? Of the building blocks. So if you don't do that, and then all of a sudden they've gone and had an affair with somebody and said, well, I stopped finding you attractive, and then you stop doing this and that. You kind of you've got to take a little bit of responsibility. Say, yeah, I did.
That's certainly a better reason for maintaining health and fitness. But again, it should really be self-driven, shouldn't it? And
you want to be the healthiest.
Yeah, you want to be the healthiest, or kind of the best version of yourself. Did I tell you? Did I mention like who was it who said it? I saw it on Joe Rogan's podcast. There was a gentleman that basically said, "Do you know what the ultimate nightmare is? Meeting the person you could have been."
Yeah, I've heard that quote before.
Oh, and I think of that quite often now. Actually, it generally drives me out of bed in the morning when I'm being lazy. Do you reckon the person you could have been would stay in bed for another 5 minutes?
Yeah.
No, I am a lazy arse. I need to get out.
I think to myself, by making an action, I can never regret taking the action as much as I would regret not taking it.
Yeah.
So whatever that is, doing something, making a call to somebody when times are bad and they need, and ringing them to give them some assurance, and I wish I'd made that call, or going for that run, or starting this, for instance, 10 years time, God, everyone was laughing at me. That was a fucking right joke. But imagine being 10 years time and going, I could have done a podcast and it could have touched one person. Do you know what I mean? Or something, I don't know. But anything of that ilk, taking action. So there's being the person you could have been, or doing the things you could have done.
Yeah, that's why Jordan Peterson says get up in the morning and make your bed.
Yeah. That's
because it's the first thing you can do to take action and create discipline. Absolutely, and that consistency of it all. But that's why we try and turn up to the gym every day, every morning or whatever. But yeah, it's a difficult road to navigate. But if we go back to the original kind of thing we were talking about, most people, they tend to be sedentary, so they're sat down throughout most of the day. So, like sofa stretch, couch stretch, whatever you want to call it, hip flexor stretches, they're always useful.
Yeah. But is it something you do every day easily? See, I thought that's why.
I like the standing pigeon.
Standing pigeon. I'll have to look at that. Is that leg crossed over?
It's the pigeon, but you just do it from a standing position. Most of the time, I get people to elevate leg on the bed because it's a decent enough height, but most people are tight in the hips. And this is the different. Maybe I might retract that statement actually.
See, that's when I went back again to the squat. Just standing up and down in the squat to start with, as low as you can. It's progressible. It's easy for most people to start just to try and go as deep as you can each day, getting deeper till you can sit in the squat and all.
But you need to spend time there. That's the only difficulty. I wouldn't necessarily treat it as a down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And
it does neglect the thoracic and things like that to some degree, unless you put your hands over. You see, you can progress it, can't you, I suppose? To the prisoner squat. And it's just one simple little thing that could make everybody better. I don't know if there is such a thing, and I'm asking too much. But then I was like, well,
I mean, it's like that world's greatest stretch. I mean, it's good, and you can get some thoracic in there and things like that. But it's not bad. I mean, it's not bad.
And could people be hurt themselves more by trying to squat? Do you think that's the other thing? Is there a danger in saying to somebody, look? Saying as a blanket, go and try and squat deeper and more or for longer every day for a few minutes?
I suppose, unless there's some underlying kind of knee pathology or ankle, something like that. I mean, there's always...
You should stop yourself before you got there,
always
I suppose,
that,
wouldn't you?
Yeah, one individual that, people that aren't accustomed to exercise don't often know the difference between soreness and pain. Like a muscle soreness, or that's sore, or but that's pain. Like they'll think it's always pain, and so they'll stop themselves. And it does take some time to get used to.
And people who aren't resilient, I wonder whether that's sometimes people hate exercise because they feel uncomfortable, and don't realise that that's just the start of it. And, so then I find exercise hard, and never push themselves all the way through their life. So, therefore, they do feel uncomfortable. That goes back to what we were saying the other day, isn't it? Doesn't it?
We see it here. I'm not going to get in. It's a podcast on its own right. But obviously, people cheating in CrossFit, it's fine to come up to me afterwards at the whiteboard when I've coached a session and be like, "That was really hard, Craig. Instead of doing 20 burpees, I only managed 8." That's absolutely fine. But be honest about it. Don't hide the fact that you changed it, because I already know.
Yeah.
Because we always know when somebody's not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Stop looking at me like that.
Yeah. And B, I don't care that you changed it. I care that you worked hard to your level. If I've given you some numbers, whether that's a rep range, whether that's a weight, whatever it may well be, whether that's a range of motion. If I say squat to this and it's too much for you, change it. I'm not bothered. I'm bothered that you worked hard and you worked to your ability. That's always been the big thing, because like you say, there's a resilience to that.
Yeah.
If you cheat, you tell me that you don't have the resilience to stick to what we've told you to do, and the progression is going to be much harder to make, or progress in general, fitness, health, whatever it might be, is going to be harder to measure and harder to increase, because you just keep shortchanging yourself every time. So that's always a frustration there. But I agree that there's a difficulty for people to kind of see that in resilience. That's a massive one, really, resilience. Yeah. We've often asked the question, like Jules is always baffled by it, and she'll say it quite regularly. Those people in positions, really well-respected jobs, really high profile jobs, really stressful jobs, and that don't have the same resilience in the gym as what they do in their jobs.
Yeah.
I always often find that quite remarkable, that people have the tenacity to be able to navigate a corporate world where you've got to deal with office politics, you've got to deal with kind of snotty bosses, whatever it may well be, and they come here. And don't be wrong, some people when they come here to train, they just don't want to. It's like they've got no more words left, and they just want to be told what to do, and that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But then some people, it's not that, and they just have no idea and no ability to push themselves. And I just think, how are you so successful? And I know Jules feels the same in terms of that, and I do find it quite.
You'd expect there to be a correlation.
Yeah,
between the two,
I'd
wouldn't
expect
you?
there absolutely
grit and determination.
Yeah, where
to transfer onto from one to the other, almost, wouldn't you?
Yeah, if somebody told you to piss off at work, and you bit their head off because you were well within your right to do so, but then you come here and you stop halfway through a set of wall balls because it's hard. Like, well, you just had to deal with a hard situation at work and you're able to grit through. Why can't you do it here? I don't know your personal circumstances, but often when we see like that lack of resilience in certain people, and I'm not saying there's a lot of members here that have that lack of resilience, or there's a lot of members here that don't. What I'm saying is that kind of often when we see people, maybe most of the time it's people passing through.
I was going to say, from time to time, CEO comes in, look great, do everything, and then all of a sudden they're dead flaky.
Yeah, like, everyone's like, oh, I really want to get involved in this CrossFit thing. I do this and I do that, and I run 10Ks, and I do that, and you're like, amazing, that's amazing. And they do one session of CrossFit, and they're like, oh, no, it's not for me. And you're like, if it was us, I'd rather know, because at times I'm a dick. I get it.
There's a difference though. They're like a 10K. People who've built up to 10K run all their life and find it actually relatively easy or sustainable, and then come in here and have to use different parts of the body and throw that, like, the blood up and down the body, doing something that's leggy, then something that's army. Yeah. Like doing a Fran, for instance. I mean, nobody comes and does a Fran and goes, do you know what? That's exactly how I imagined it to be, and it's amazing. Like, I loved every minute of it, and I don't think it's quite intense enough.
It's like we've got Murph on Monday, haven't we? We've got Murph in a week's time, and a month or two ago I said that I was going to run once a week to make sure that it's not that lagging factor, and I did Angie the other day, and Angie broke me for 3 or 4 days. And just like even reaching for something, in fact, I think we did it on the Friday. We went to the park with Noah to play basketball, and on the monkey bars are right next to the basketball hoop, and I couldn't even hang from the monkey bars because I was in so much pain. And I was like thinking, don't get me wrong, that was 100 pull-ups, 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats. But even so, just that, I was like, oh, we've got Murph coming up, and there's so much more volume.
Do you know what broke me before that? It was, for 6 days, was the 3 rounds, 25 pull-ups, 30 jumping lunges.
Yeah, that hurt as well.
That was so bad. And a couple of days after, I trained, and then it knocked me back again. So it was like DOMS for 6 days, really painful. But yeah, but I saw your pace on that, and you were very, very quick. Yeah, for the first 2 rounds. The last round, I'd just gone, absolutely gone. And I'd obviously pushed to complete fatigue, so I was having to do like jump kit pull-ups at the end. So I did 25 unbroken butterflies, then I think it was something like a 12, 10, 3, like, and then it was 5, 1, and like trying to push through it, and I couldn't believe it. But then for days, and I think it's because it was tramped in. But yeah, that killed me.
So wrapping this up, host.
On the movement. Do you know the NHS? I was looking to see if they haven't really got a guideline on it yet. They've got guidance for movement. 2014, the 15, it was updated, which is better because I was surprised. Actually, listen. So this is I've got it in front of me because I thought it was good just to read through it. So 150 minutes of moderate intensity activity a week, or 75 minutes of doing vigorous intensity activity. What counts as moderate aerobic activity?
What counts as moderate?
Yeah. Brisk walking, water aerobics, riding a bike, dancing, doubles tennis. Doubles tennis is loads harder.
Doubles tennis.
Doubles tennis, pushing a lawnmower, hiking, rollerblading. That's all in the moderate aerobic activity. I mean, I would say if you can rollerblade and you can play doubles tennis, then pushing a lawnmower is not moderate aerobic activity for you.
So, I think what they're trying to suggest is zone 2 cardiovascular exercises.
So really, but then doubles tennis, riding a bike is brisk walking, rollerblading is hiking.
So zone 2 is supposed to be between 60 and 70% of your heart rate, of your max heart rate.
Moderate activity will raise your heart rate and make you breathe faster and feel warmer. One way to tell if you're working at a moderate intensity level is you can still talk but not sing.
So yeah, so that's zone 2.
Zone 2.
But the thing is, I mean, the heart rate monitors are great for that. So it's the blue zone for us in terms of using the MyZone belts. All the belts, all the heart rate monitors are available. But that's that's it. It's blue zone for us. And for you to do 45 minutes, I mean, my understanding is that you're supposed to do. So again, if I use Peter Attia as a thing, he recommends 180 minutes a week of zone 2 training.
Yeah.
But then
for what? For
longevity, for health. But then if you take a look at that, they're then caveating that with 75 minutes of high intensity.
So what counts as vigorous activity?
Vigorous.
My thoughts were, when I just read through it, I was like, it's not quite as correct or concise as I'd like. But so vigorous intensity activity makes you breathe hard and fast. If you're working at this level, you will not be able to say more than a few words without pausing for breath. In general, 75 minutes of vigorous intensity activity a week can give similar health benefits to 150 minutes of moderate intensity, blah, blah, blah. Running, swimming, riding a bike faster on hills, walking up the stairs. So they've had hiking in the first one, but walking up the stairs in this one. So can you see the discrepancy there? Sports like football, rugby, netball and hockey. Well, if you've played any of those sports at a level, that is very vigorous activity. I mean, if it's...
it is, and accumulating 75 minutes is... So that's like saying we'll do one match a week and that's enough. No, it's not.
Yeah. Skipping, aerobics, gymnastics and martial arts. So
why not just say... exercise either moderately or vigorously every day for this amount of time?
Well, let's do this then. So what counts as very vigorous activity? Very vigorous activities, exercise performed in short bursts of maximum effort broken up with rest. This type of exercise, also known as HIIT training, blah, blah, blah. Lifting heavy weights, circuit training, sprinting up hills, interval running, running upstairs, spinning classes. So that's probably more like concise than the rest, or accurate than the rest, should I say. Concise is not the right word. But then I look at this and I think, that's to me not a clear message. And I know this is between 19 to 64 year olds, and it doesn't really mention anything about recovering, stretching, mobilising.
No.
And it should really, I think it should be,
I think, again, if you're going to say, like I say, I think there should be moderate whatever activity should be performed every day, or activity should be performed every day. 15 minutes of vigorous or 45 minutes of moderate, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But if you do an hour of something 5 days a week, you're in a good position.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But if you do 75 minutes of vigorous activity and that's playing a football match once a week, again, there are 168 hours. We say to everybody, there are 168 hours in a week. If you come to the gym for 3 hours a week, that's 165 hours left. That's a lot of time, regardless of how you break up sleep, eating, work, and all the rest of it. It's still 3 out of 168 is not really a lot, is it?
No.
No,
not.
But 75 minutes.
But if you think about the people who play football, there'll be two types. Think of a Sunday League side, five-a-side, or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And you've got the guys, they tip up and they go, every time I play, I get injured.
Yeah.
You think, what else do you do? Well, apart from a Thursday night when I go to the pub and play snooker.
Darts.
Yeah, that's it. So it's not the actual sport; it's the lack of other things leading up to the day. So they're not stretching, they're not mobilising, they're not strengthening anything. So all of a sudden, they're asking the body to perform a very high intensity workout at different angles. So
It's the angles, absolutely.
So they are fitting well enough to play the football. They're just not conditioned to play it, I would say. So you need to be doing more of the moderate and intermediate stuff to be able to do the high intensity stuff.
I disagree. I think in order to avoid injury, I think you need to be doing the more sport specific type of training stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not, because as long as your body is conditioned, because most of the time when you go to the gym, well, every time we go to the gym, whatever we do, it's in the sagittal plane. So everything you do is straight in front of you. It's in a linear direction.
In the what plane? I've not heard.
Sagittal. So backwards and forwards.
Okay.
Yeah. Frontal is side to side.
Yeah.
So like a sprawler, you would be moving side to side.
No one can see your hands doing that because it's audio. But
Give it all that.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
So sagittal. So kind of burpees sagittal. Like let's say sprawlers in the frontal plane because you're moving side to side, but then the push up of the sprawler is in the sagittal plane. So everything we do is in the sagittal plane, but every sport demands you to be able to turn and move sideways. Yeah. But we don't practice that in the gym. So if you only go to the gym and you only go on the treadmill, or you only go on a bike, or you only go on a rower and to work on your fitness, and then you go out onto a pitch and you need to turn quickly, no wonder you're going to pull a hamstring. No wonder you're going to tear a calf, because you haven't conditioned yourself. So I wouldn't argue. Don't get me wrong, fitness is required for general health, but if you want to be good at your sport and not injure yourself, you have to do sport-specific tasks.
Plyometrics as well.
As long as they are performed in 3 planes of motion.
Yeah, well, I think they should be anyway.
Like Jules is fantastically fit. She absolutely kills it, I think, a lot of the time in terms of her fitness. But you put her on a pitch and ask her to play netball, bless her, or netball court, and she bloody ruptured a calf. Reason being is because she only does things in sagittal plane.
That's maybe a limitation of CrossFit, isn't it?
Massively,
respect, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Where there's no, that sort of diagonal bounding and twisting.
Yep, absolutely. There's nothing like that we do, and so again, it comes back to what's the your original question: what's the best stretch? It depends. Like it really, really does, and that's it. It's so easy to say that, I understand. But it really genuinely does depend. When people come and see me, I'll say to them, like, so much of your treatment is going to be on the bench, but then so much of the treatment needs to be assessed. Your movement needs to be assessed, and we need to see where your limitations are, because you can only move as well as your limitations allow. And so if we can improve your limitations, you move better. There's less chance of injury. There's less chance of you coming to see me. But it needs to be assessed. I can't just slide over a sheet of exercises. If you throw enough shit at the wall, some of it will stick. I could give you 20 exercises, but it might only be one that you really, really need. In fact, do you know what, right? I saw, hi Ben, saw Jamming at the weekend.
Yeah.
And we were chatting, and he basically treated this patient. This guy had been to Harley Street. Is this Harley Street? Yeah. Spent thousands on having MRIs, assessments, all the rest of it. Got sciatic pain, right? He went to see Ben because Ben's clinic has got the most 5-star ratings in all of the clinics in all of East London. He's done very, very well. Yeah, he's done really, really well.
He practices what he preaches.
He's amazing. Absolutely, he is absolutely amazing. But it was interesting because he had some balls to say this to the patient, but I do understand it. But like to say that as a practitioner, it's pretty big. So basically, this guy comes to see Ben. And Ben says, so Ben's a chiropractor, and it was like, what are you, Ben said to him, what are you currently doing now? And he said, I've been given these exercises and these stretches to do, and it's taking me nearly 2 hours a day.
Yeah,
right?
That's not
and
maintainable,
Ben
is
was,
it?
and the thing was, Ben was like, are you still in pain? And he was like, yeah. So Ben said, right, okay, then we'll do some stuff. I only want you stretching for a maximum of 15 minutes a day. Maximum. And I'm going to phone you up in a week and find out how you are. So Ben phones him. How are you? Ben says, more importantly, are you any worse? No. Are you any better? Well, no, I'm not. right, okay then, I've saved you an hour and 45 minutes a day,
Yeah.
and you're not better and you're not worse. So, like, it's okay to have some sciatic pain. That's what Ben was sort of like ultimately saying. But I've given you nearly 2 hours of your life back with your family
Yeah.
that you aren't spending on something that isn't. If you throw enough shit at the wall, some of it will stick. You know, like, there might be one exercise that he was doing that was really, really, really useful, and the others were fluffing. You know what I mean?
Don't know what it is, so let's try everything.
Yeah, absolutely. But and that's where being really specific requires quite a bit of
confidence from him, I suppose.
yeah, confidence from him, but it requires a lot of observation. It requires a lot of testing and trialing, and it's not just as straightforward as, oh, you've got a hip that doesn't do this, so let's give you this exercise. It doesn't work. It doesn't. And the problem is you need a highly specialized individual to carry out that that assessment, and there just aren't people. Either A, you can't charge enough money to do so because no one would ever chuff and come and see you.
Yeah.
Or you've got to be not so specialised, so you know your skill set isn't as costly. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
Very hard one, that is.
Yeah, massively. But I do know that, like, me just wiggling people on a bench is not going to have the long. If people just come and see me, if you don't want to do your stretches, absolutely fine. You can come and see me. I'll treat you every week for the rest of your life. You'll help pay my mortgage. But morally, that doesn't sit well with me.
No.
I never has done.
That's one of the things I value in
my approach.
In your approach, that it's never been about the money, has it?
No.
In fact, the money is just, it just means that you can do more of what you're doing rather than, if it was really badly paid.
If people
you couldn't do it to the level you want to, I suppose.
Yeah. The way I see the money is that people come and pay me, and that is them investing in my opinion. And that is worth something. You know what I mean? Like, I could give if I get what would have more adherence, me treating people for free and providing exercises for free, would they do it? Or if I charged, £200 a session, and if people were going to come, they'd do it.
And
Why?
do you know what?
Because
if you did it for free, they wouldn't value your opinion in the same way.
Absolutely.
Because it's a strange thing. You could be a guru, and people would go, and he says, he does it for free. And they're like, well, it's free, so it's obviously not worth it. Well,
and there's a weird, whatever psychological, kind of take on it that becomes. I'm not entirely sure, but it is definitely one of those scenarios where, like I say, I appreciate when people, I've had a new patient from the gym today, and that person has invested, time and money into coming and seeing me, so I'm going to make sure that I'm going to do the best for them. I'm leaving a clinic that I'm currently working at purely because I do not see that my time invested in each patient is enough. I'm not being given enough time in order to be able to give that patient what I think they deserve, and so I can't do that. So I need to leave, which is why I'm doing so. But yeah, it's an interesting one. So yeah,
so that's okay. So we can't give one stretch for it. Would you? In short,
I do like the squat though.
Yeah, I truly do. Because one of the things I'm trying to do that everybody gets out of the podcast is a bit of a laugh, a bit of information, and something applicable, like in that respect, for the kids, for everybody.
For the kids.
Well, my guys in the rugby have got to start tackling. They've changed the tackle height this year. The laws on the height of the tackle.
No, they have to be low, don't they?
You have to be lower. There's a lot of controversy around it, but some very good science as well. The problem and difficulty we have is we have some very tall children and some smaller children. Some of the taller, bigger children struggle to get to depth in the squat and get low. So if you're asking them to then reduce the tackle height, it's going to be impossible unless we improve their mobility. So one of the reasons I've gone back to that is I've got kids at the age of 10 who cannot really get low enough to make the tackle effectively, so they're bending their spine and hunching over, and it's dangerous, and they're not going to be able to tackle, so they're going to get pinged for high tackles. So I'm already going to ask them to walk in the duck walk as part of their warm-ups and assess them. I'm going to see how low they can get. I had one kid already a few weeks ago, and he couldn't get down into a squat, so we're going to work on that, because until I can, there's no point in me forcing them and shouting at them to tackle lower, or tackle in a dangerous back position and have a curved spine, until I addressed the fact that they need to be able to move and get low enough. So that was the first thing. But then I was like, well, who else can benefit from that? What can we do? What's like a simple thing? So I was going to suggest to try and squat every day. And it's the closest I could get to. And maybe we can think about that a bit more and add to it. But I so appreciate your input, the fact that it is different for everybody, and it will always be different for everybody. And there isn't one magic pill sticking plaster for everything. But a squat would be maybe a good place to start, if nothing else, for now.
I like it the most because, without addressing upper body issues, thoracic, shoulders, actually, like, it puts people in a position whereby, they are out of their comfort zone because we don't sit in a squat, we sit in chairs.
So there you go. You heard it here first, folks. Craig Oswald, BOST, says squat every day. Joking aside, though, it's maybe where we've got to today for the best place to start. Thank you again very much for your time.
I genuinely enjoy it.
It's brilliant, isn't it? One question I've got for you before we leave. What's a chicken's favourite CrossFit trainers?
Bok, 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 bok.
You didn't even find that one funny, did you?
It's actually just a chicken's favourite trainers, but I
Is
thought
it?
I'd add the CrossFit bit to make it more relevant. And on that note, thank you very much.
Sure.
Ba-da, 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 ba-dum, boom.